Hello, hello, hello. Hello, everybody over there. Can everybody hear me? Can everybody hear me?
Sure, I can hear you clearly.
Yes, you're very, very, very welcome. Good afternoon, good evening, and good morning, depending on the time zone that you're in. Very, very welcome to Radio SP. I'm Eddie, and my co-host is Mandy, we shall be taking you the rest of this 1.5 hours as we do our grand launch for our strategic plan. And so at this point, we're just going to do 1 more minute. I'm going to give 1 more minute for those that may not have joined already. And then Mandy is going to take us through what the rest of the 1.5 hours are going to look like, who the guests are that have joined us today, and essentially what the rest of the 1.5 hours are going to look like. So we will give it 1 more minute, and at exactly 4:33, Mandy is going to take us away and tell us exactly what's going to happen. Thank you. So Mandy, can you take us away on what this particular cruise is going to look like?
Thanks, Eddie. Welcome, listeners. It's your favorite and only Director of Global Advocacy, Mandy False. I'm joining you from Washington, D.C. I tell you, Eddie, I'm feeling really excited, not just because it's a long weekend here in the U.S. and I'm going to a socially distanced barbecue. Even more exciting, it's a big day for Living Goods audience. You've all contributed to the development of this strategic plan in some way. You've been doing the work. You've been capturing the learnings from that work. Those learnings are going into the future journey of this organization. You're bringing your tremendous expertise into this work, into this new plan, really defining the future of what we're going to be doing. So today is a great, exciting day. We're launching that plan and we're embarking on this journey together into the future, where we'll work alongside governments to impact millions of people to have greater access to healthcare. And actually, our strategy calls for reaching 18 million people. So I had to put this in perspective because 18 million is a big number. I grew up in a town of 4,500 people. That's 4,000 of my hometowns. It's a lot of people and it's a lot to be excited about. So let's dive in. As Eddie said, my co-host will be diving into a program for today, an exciting agenda. We hope to have a lot of fun too. So we'll begin the conversation by welcoming some illustrious guests. Our Living Goods CEO, Liz Jarman. We also have our board chair, Chuck Slaughter, our founder as well, and board member, Pop Guy. My co-host, Eddie, and I will be asking them some questions about their perspectives on our strategic plan. Then audience, you'll have the opportunity to join breakout rooms. Each of those breakout rooms will be facilitated by a GET member with support from 1 or 2 strategic plan champions throughout the organization. And in this part of the program, we'll really have an opportunity to dig into the components of the strategic plan. You'll have an opportunity to ask all the questions that you could think of. After that, that's when the party starts. We're going to reconvene into a big group. We're going to encourage you to use that time to relax, to maybe grab a drink, grab a snack, but don't get too relaxed because we're going to have a competition. And I was there yesterday on the team meeting, and I saw there is a lot of competitive people here on our team. I think there's like a friendly rivalry happening between program delivery and partnerships, advocacy, and comms in Kenya. So let's see how that plays out today. Here's a tip for the competition. To be successful, you got to listen to what our speakers are saying about our strategic plan. The closer you listen, the better you'll be in the friendly competition. After that point, we'll continue the celebration, so please stay on with the official launch of the strategy. We'll be asking questions. We'll be asking for some audience participation, so stick around for the big launch at the end of the meeting. So before we turn it over to the panel, just a couple of ground rules. We have lots of people joining us, probably the biggest amount of listeners for Radio SP to date. So just to be respectful of the listeners, I ask everyone to keep your microphone's on mute. We just want to avoid any disruptions for our speakers. For our panel discussion, we won't have time for questions. However, this is one of several engagements that we'll all have on the strategic plan rollout. So you'll have lots of time to answer questions in other, or ask questions in other settings. And we'll also, of course, have the breakout rooms and time for discussion. So no questions during the larger group. However, if you do have questions that you want to note in the chat, we'll be taking those and ensuring that we can either answer those in future discussions or address them in FAQs that our communications team is putting together. So let's get started on our exciting program. I'm going to quote our dear communications manager in Uganda, Fiona. She said this yesterday. We really want the team to feel like they breathe it, eat it, live it, the strategic plan. So I don't know about eating it, but I think the intent is there. So we really, throughout the launch of this plan, want to feel like we're all eating it, or breathing it, eating it, and living it. So Eddie, I'll turn it over to you to begin our panel.
Thank you, Mandy. And those indeed are very good insights into exactly what is going to be taking place. So listeners and viewers, I'm excited that right now on the Frontline Cruise talk show today, we are hosting none other than our very own CEO, Liz, who is going to be taking us for the next 15 or so minutes, in which we shall be looking at what really her insights and her personal experiences have been on this journey, and most importantly, what really this means to us as an organization. So Liz, you're very welcome to the Frontline Cruise here at SB Radio.
Thank you so much. It's lovely to be here. Looking forward to it.
Thank you very much. I hope Nairobi is well. We are well.
Very well, thank you. Very well.
Great. So yeah, now we're getting into now the strategic plan to understand what it really is in this particular time. We know that last Friday we had an opportunity to learn about the process, of developing this strategic plan that was facilitated by, Bridgespan and some of our staff. A lot of work put in and a lot of processes happening. Can you tell us about the gist of this strategy, how you would summarize it, and what personally you learned from this process?
Well, thanks, Eddie. As I said, it's great to be here. And yeah, I'm so excited about this plan and where we've got to. I think the last plan was very audacious. That's what we called it. And it was for a reason, because we're trying to solve some really big problems. And it's vital that we're bold, we continue to be ambitious. And if we're not, then we're not going to achieve all that we're able to do. So this new chapter for Living Goods represents what I feel is really material evolution. It builds on the great work we've achieved, all that we've learned over the last 4 years, thanks to all of you. Now, in terms of the plan, really the budget and the staffing numbers aren't really going to grow substantially over the 5 years of this next plan. But what will be increasing very significantly, as Mandy said, is the number of community health workers we're going to support. And therefore the health outcomes we'll achieve, and also the number of countries and government partners will support. So one way to sum that up is to think about what it's going to look like at the end, what we're really hoping we can achieve right at the very end. By, if we were here in 2026, what I would hope is that we've been able to support 5 African governments, so that's 2 more than today, on a journey to increase access to high quality, digitally enabled community healthcare for families. So in doing so, we'll significantly improve the health outcomes for at least 18 million people. That's a lot of people, as Mandy just said, across 5 countries. But importantly, it's about supporting governments to progressively transition to substantial ownership of their community healthcare delivery. So of course, ultimately, we're about saving lives and creating durable national impact in these countries. And so, Eddie, I guess one way you might say, well, that's all very well, but how are we going to actually deliver it? Well, we've come up with something called the 3S blueprint. It's the modes of operation we're going to do in every country that we support. So the first S stands for strengthen delivery through learning sites. And this is where we're going to directly implement all the desk approach we all know about. And essentially that's a new name for our direct operations. It's where we're going to invest in the 4 key pillars of desk. We're going to show what is possible, if you like, the gold standard. We're going to build evidence, and we're going to show what is possible to try and influence policy and financing in the countries that we work. And these learning sites that we're now calling them are going to be innovation labs as well. So it'll be where we, like we do today, experiment, test, and try even more disruptive innovation. So those learning sites will support around 10,000 community health workers, and it's going to remain reasonably constant across the 5 years. And at the end of the 5 years, it's going to be about 1/3 of our total community health workers. So that's the first S. Strengthen delivery through learning sites. The second S is about supporting scaling for national impact. And this is a bit of a shift. We're thinking about national impact, and importantly, this is all about government leading the delivery of community health. Government being in the driving seat, and Living Goods are behind. They're behind the scenes. But that doesn't mean that we're not going to be on the ground. That doesn't mean we're just doing national TA. It means we're going to be on the ground, supporting government or their implementing partners to operationalize effectively the desk components. And we're calling this implementation support. And really what we're trying to do is replicate what we've been able to achieve in the learning sites. And a big shift here is we are not going to be paying for the desk elements. We do expect there'll be co-financing, and the majority of the desk elements will be paid for government directed funding. And so this is the area that's going to grow over time. As we get more expertise in it, as we prove that it's working, we'll start out with a moderate numbers of supporting around 4,500 next year, and increasing that, if it's successful, to around 22,000. So by the end of the 5 years, it'll be about 2/3 of our community health workers that we support will be in this mode. So that was the second S, support scaling for national impact. And then the third S is shaping the community health environment. We do know that for implementation support and government leading delivery, it's not going to be successful if there is not a strong environment. So we are going to be working on strengthening the enabling environment. And what we mean by that is that we'll help with policies, guidelines, frameworks, but important also looking at the financing and resource mobilization so that the desk elements can be funded. And that means we need to invest and engage in advocacy, policy support, having secondments to the ministries of health. It also means that for the digital elements that we'll have staff working on configuring and managing the digital tools that are being used nationally that may be either seconded to government or dedicated to this work. And as I said before, it will be where we're helping to cost community health programs and unlock global and domestic resources. So you're going to hear a lot more, so I don't want to get into too much detail. We've got lots of other bits in the plan. We've got strategic pillars we've come up with. We've got cross-cutting enablers. But in summary, I think it's a really exciting plan. It's bold. As I said, it's targeting to triple the number of community health workers we support to 32,000. And it is, there's a lot we still don't know. So we are approaching this with a lot of caution and humility. There's a lot to learn about delivering material health outcomes through these government partnerships, which is very central to the plan. And there's also unknowns about our future financing for Living Goods and co-financing, just how much will be possible to raise in both elements. So hence we're being quite cautious on that. I think you asked me, Eddie, about what did I learn as well in the process. I think for me, yeah, from a personal perspective, it was a great process to go through. 2020 was pretty tough. We were all heads down, learning how to adapt to COVID. And I found this process a way to lift up, reflect, think about what we've learned, listen to so many different viewpoints, talk to other organizations. And I also, really deeply thought about what makes us unique and how do we harness that to fulfill our vision. So one thing I learned as well during the process is we did a lot of listening and reflecting early on, but maybe the end was a bit rushed. Maybe we didn't move to action quick enough. And in hindsight, we should probably have moved to smaller groups who made recommendations to help decide on the path forward. We also were introduced by a process called RAPID by Bridgespan. I've not got time to go into details now, but I really enjoyed thinking about how do we improve decision making. And we're going to likely introduce that into the organization next year. So I learned quite a lot too.
Thank you so much, Lisa, regarding that. On the second S, you mentioned the second S that is about scale. And we know that the plan is framed as saving lives at scale through country-led digitally enabled community health systems. Now, does that mean that we're ceasing to do direct operations?
Yeah, so this new plan, this evolution I've described, does not mean we're stopping doing service delivery and driving for impact. That's what we do incredibly well, but we'll be doing it in two different ways. So as I mentioned, we're renaming direct operations, if you like, supporting, strengthening in learning sites. And so we're still going to be doing that. And it'll be about a third of the CHWs we support by the end of the 5 years. And we're at around 10,000 community health workers. But as I mentioned, the big scale is when government is leading, assuming that we can get that really operationally and working well. That's what our ambition is. About 2/3 of the community health workers will be through government leading. Great.
So following up on exactly that, then what would set us apart as Living Goods? What is our value, our unique value proposition in this case?
Yeah, as I mentioned, when we were doing the plan, we really thought deeply about this. And I think we came up with 7 areas, which is a lot. We need to try and fine tune them. But I think it's really important to remind ourselves what we're so good at. So I think the first thing is we are so focused on impact, and not just impact, proven impact. It's in our DNA, you know. We want to build evidence. We want to look at the evidence. And that goes back to our first RCT, to reviewing dashboards on a daily basis, or doing deep dives, or on monthly KPI reviews. We're always looking at impact. We're laser focused on results and what will materially make a difference to reducing child mortality. And even when we layer on other services, we need them to be proven before we scale them out. So we took time to get to family planning, but now it's working fantastically. Same with immunization. Substantial improvements in those areas because we took the time to learn. So that's the first area. I think the second area is, it's linked to it in a way, is that we really look at integration and we think about how can community health workers deliver the best impact, the greatest amount of impact. And we do that by focusing on both the what community health workers do and the how. So the what is the sort of 5 areas we all know: pregnancy, childhood diseases, immunization, family planning, nutrition. But we also think about the how, which is what we've come to know as DESC. You know, that again, that has to be integrated to work. You can't just do one element of DESC or just focus on pregnancy. We want to have it integrated. The third element is really about digital and data. You know, there are very few organizations in our space that develop, implement, and refine digital solutions at scale. We're pretty unique.
Yeah.
And what makes us even more unique, Eddie, is that we're software agnostic. So we can help partners to, you know, assess a variety of platforms and think about what is best suited for their needs. And that leads on to the fourth element, is how we use data to drive performance. So we take a lot of best practices from the public health sector and business sector. And, you know, Eddie, you know this more than anyone. We focus on setting targets. We focus on incentives. We focus on data for decision making, supervision modes. And I think that's different from other organizations. Then we move on to cost effectiveness. Again, not always something front of mind, but we're really thinking about what delivers the highest return on investment. What is affordable? And I'm not just talking about affordable for us, but affordable for anybody who's going to pay. What is good value for money? And so that links to this impact, but looking at the cost as well as just the impact. You know, money in the space in the countries we work in is really scarce. So how are you going to spend it to make the biggest difference? And then the last two, quickly finish. We have a culture of innovation. You know, all of you are constantly thinking about how to do things better, iterating, improving, doing experiments. And we've been very lucky with unrestricted funding that has allowed us to take risks, learn, pivot. And I think that's still very much central to who we are. And then lastly, and I think this is an area that we've really been working on over the years, is diversity and localization. You know, our center of gravity is now Africa. I'm based here. 95% of our staff are based in East Africa. And out of those here, the majority of Africa, you know, 99% are African nationals. And we believe deeply in the power of diverse teams. That means diverse in terms of geography, diverse in terms of lived experience, race, and career backgrounds. So there's a lot there. It's hard to pin it all down, but I think those 7 things make a huge difference.
Thank you, Liz. You've really elaborated that very well. I now would like to move to something that you mentioned at the very beginning regarding what 2026 would look like. When you look at the strategic plan, what do we aim to achieve? How would you say that?
So we're living good, so we like measurable goals. So as we've already said, you know, we're targeting 18 million across 5 countries as our big headline, but we've got a bit more detail below that. And as you know, we'll also create really specific KPIs every year. But ultimately, we want to triple the number of community health workers to 32,000. They'll be delivering the care to the 18 million people across 5 countries. But we are going to remain really laser focused on what it will take to reduce under 5 mortality. And in fact, we've done quite a bit of modeling and looking at country statistics and the potential of impact of our desk approach on community health programs to see what it will take to get to around a 10 to 15% reduction in under 5 mortality. So that's going to be really important, as will averting unintended pregnancies. And we've again modeled this, and we think throughout the 5 years, over 1 million, probably 1.2 million unintended pregnancies will be averted by the work that we're supporting. And that means that we'll make a really materially influence the uptake of contraceptives. And we're going to throughout monitor the cost effectiveness. You know, what's it costing us? What's it costing other people to deliver this? So we know that to have a really effective community health system, when we operate it, it costs just under $2,500 per year per community health worker, or around $3 to $4 per capita. We'll start monitoring governments picking up some of those costs and just how much of those costs are they picking up, so our costs will come down. And then I talked about this enabling environment. It's so critical. So we'll also be monitoring not only the amount of co-financing coming in, which will be increasing over time, but also we'll be monitoring how well we're doing in terms of desk elements going into country policies, how we've been able to influence those being operationalized. And there's tools like the AIM tool that we'll start to be using more and more. But as I said earlier, this is an ambitious plan. There are a lot of uncertainties, and we've actually planned for various scenarios. So we want to share our best scenario with you all, but we do know that we need to cater if we raise less money, or if government sites aren't delivering as much as we wanted and we need to slow down, or if we're just not able to get government to fund some of the desk elements in the timescale we want. We do have some different scenarios, but we want to aim big, and this is our big ambition.
Absolutely. Great. Wow, everything comes to an end. I think you have really nailed it and summarized it very well on this strategic plan. Yeah, and we've really come to the very end of this particular segment of this show. I want to ask one more question here. Now that you mentioned that there's lots of, we're ambitious and there's a lot of ambition in the things that we're going to do. So definitely there's lots of learning as well. Are there things you consider non-negotiable in this process? What would you say is non-negotiable for Living Goods in this case?
Great question, Eddie. Yeah, there's so much to learn. You know, we've still got to learn about supporting government behind the scenes so that they actually get material health outcomes. We've got to learn about working with other tech platforms, not just using the Smart Health app. We've got to learn and think about what our role is in resource mobilization, you know, just to name a few. I think it's really exciting and it really energizes me. But you're right, there are some non-negotiables we've thought about. First of all, you know, we do see scale only being government-led, not Living Goods-led, where Living Goods is paying for all the desk elements. That's just not sustainable for us to pay for everything. So the scale has to happen where others are paying for the desk elements. That's the first thing. I think the second thing is we won't be going into countries in a light touch advisory way if we don't think we're in it for the long term. So, you know, I think, you know, even the work we're doing in Ethiopia, we're going to continue to do the work in Ethiopia and deliver on that commitment. But if we don't get access to government and we can't do that 3S blueprint model, then it's not going to be a core country for us where we're going to be there for the long term. So we won't enter into those short-term commitments. The only time we will is to explore a country, you know, to see if it's the right country. So if you take Burkina Faso, last year we were in there, we did a short-term piece of work, but it was in the intention to say, we want to be here for the long term. We're just checking that this is the right place for us to invest. But we won't do short-term work if we don't think we're there for the long term. And then I think the last one is important to say is we're not going to become a tech organization. But that doesn't mean that tech and digital health isn't important. It is a critical enabler for all our work. We are going to continue to have a tech team. We're going to grow our ability to support different platforms and to innovate. But we're likely to do more partnerships with other players who complement what we do. And we're not going to deliver tech consulting services if there's no link to community health service delivery. You know, there are other players that can do that well. So I think we're being very true to who we are and what we do best. So thanks, Eddie.
To host you on the Frontline Cruise, and you look great, by the way. You really look great, and the background looks very great. So I will at this point yes, absolutely. So at this point I'll ask my co-host Mandy to come on. Thank you very much for joining, and looking forward to seeing you again in the other segments. And so Mandy, I would like to hand over to you to take us into the next section of this show. Thank you.
Great, thank you so much, Eddie, and thank you, Liz. We're really fortunate today to have two board members joining us for the launch. I know the board has been so deeply engaged in the development of this plan and lending your expertise to the future of Living Goods. As I said, we're joined by our board chair and the founder of Living Goods, Chuck Slaughter. He not only founded Living Goods, but served as our CEO for 10 years. I know many of you have had the pleasure to work with him, alongside him. As you all know, Chuck is not only a leader in the community health space, but he's also a highly successful entrepreneur and investor in the private sector. So welcome, Chuck. Thank you for joining Radio SP. We're also joined by my former boss, Pop. Always good to see you, Pop Guy. Pop has been a champion of family planning, the global health workforce, and healthcare for all for over 3 decades in the international health and development space. He served as the president and CEO of IntraHealth International for 16 years. And there he led a movement to really ensure that human resources for health and family planning were crucial parts of the global conversation around health. So welcome, Pop. We're so excited that both of you are here. I'll be asking a series of questions to both of you. We have about 15-20 minutes. So just if you can, have your responses be maybe about 3 to 4 minutes. I'll start off with Chuck. First question, Chuck. You founded this organization in 2007, so we'd love to hear from you. How has this organization evolved? And when you look back at the strategic or our last strategic plan, what do you think are some of the biggest successes and learnings from that? I believe you're on mute, Chuck.
Can you hear me now? There
yes,
you go.
Thank you.
Eddie, Mandy, Liz, and Pop, thank you all for being here and for leading this kickoff. I can't start this, first of all, without giving a huge shout out to the entire Living Goods team. When I think particularly about the last 2 years, and particularly during this challenging time of COVID, you guys collectively, every single one of you, have delivered the most remarkable results and impact for the families that we serve. The productivity of every health worker has nearly doubled in the last 2 years. And so that's twice the number of kids and families who are getting the care that they need. I also just want to give a shout out to Liz and all of the GET members and our outside partners for the whole strategic planning process. I've served on over a dozen boards of directors. This is by far, I think, the most professional, effective strategic planning process I've participated in that's resulted in extremely strong, clear, compelling plan that Liz just highlighted. And Liz, I think you articulated this vision perfectly just now. And last but not least, I think this is partly an answer to your question, Mandy. Because of the work that every one of you have done, whether you've been here for a month, a year, or 10 years, because of the impact that you've proved, because of the digital tools that you've helped create, because of the money you've raised, and maybe most importantly, if I think about the last several years, Liz, under your leadership, because of the deep, trusting partnerships you've built with governments in Uganda, in Kenya, now in Burkina Faso, we have the opportunity today in a market of over 100 million people across those 3 countries to pursue the strategy that you've articulated. That is, if you think back to 2007, Mandy, as you said, I couldn't have imagined. It's a truly inspiring opportunity to make a difference in the lives of so many families. And I think that a hard thing, I think that the challenging thing for all of us, as a couple of you have pointed out, is to hold at the same time the scale of what we're achieving today, the 3 times greater scale that Liz articulated. But to always remember, it comes down to individuals, to one child, one mother, one father. And I always come back to relate it to my family, to my children, and try to magnify what that feels like if you multiply it by, 8 million, 10 million, 20 million families. But to give a more specific answer to your question, what have we learned? I think Liz really captured it beautifully in her opening remarks. But I'd call out 3 big things. I'd reinforce. One, to Liz's point, is about impact. Impact comes first, and having clear evidence that we are saving lives and expanding access to family planning. That the evidence of that impact shows us that we know we're making a difference. It is that evidence is the most important tool we have to achieve the 3rd S that Liz described, is influencing the policies of governments. And by the way, it's incredibly important for us to raise the resources that we need, both for Living Goods and to help our government partners secure the resources that they need. And so for me, that's front and center. The mobile tools, of course, have been absolutely vital to how we practice performance management. It's a key point of differentiation. It's often what countries are asking for first when we go to explore work in new countries. And I know we're having a lot of challenges with our mobile tech these days, but to reinforce again a point that Liz made, I look at a lot of these through board work that I do and through my foundation work, and Living Goods is head and shoulders above other organizations in the use of technology to support workers, to support families, and to deliver impact. The challenge is how do you make it scalable? Of course. But last but not least, I think we have Nicholas, if you can go on mute, thank you. I just have to underline what people tell us, and I think what I see that makes us different is the approach to managing people. Our approach to performance management. And again, Liz said it beautifully. It's about setting clear targets, holding people accountable, using incentives carefully and effectively, tracking those results, and giving our team members the tools they need to succeed and to support our health workers. And I think the translation of that to the second S is the big challenge we have going forward.
Thank you so much, Chuck. You said so many things that really resonated with me. I'm fairly, well, not so new to Living Goods anymore, I guess 8 months in, but I think that, as you said, that focus on performance management, having worked in the health workforce space and community health for some time, is what actually drew me to Living Goods. I just really think there's a focus on using data in such a powerful and effective way that has such a tremendous impact. And it's great to see that that's such a big part of the work going forward. And also thank you for bringing in that personal element. I think that's so important as we think about our work. It really is, as you said, it's really about the people that we're serving. So thank you. I'm going to ask my next question of Pop. I know, Pop, you've been through many of these strategic planning processes. I think we went through one together. On a personal level, what excites you about this new plan? And I'm going to give you a two-part question. So what excites you, but also what do you think is the most contentious or provocative idea in the plan as well?
Thank you, Mandy, and thank you. It's great to be in this community gathering. I'm looking at the numbers. We are 292. My God. Anyway, it's great to be among you, and I am very excited about this plan for a lot of reasons. But let me just share a few. First of all, it's the ones that my colleague talked about. Chuck talked about it. I think by far going through this process was very satisfying because I saw a lot of things that I've always wanted to see in the development of a plan being implemented. So I think it was really a model exercise. I think the board engagement was very good. I think some of the principles that you use in doing this plan really paid off. So I highlighted a few. So this is a solid plan, which is being developed in a rather turbulent times where it's very hard to see through to see where you're going. So to pull up a plan that is so clear, so bold, so focused, I think you guys deserve a big kudo. So, because it's not a small feat to actually be doing this in these times. So that was the first thing. I really love the global good nature of the plan, because I think with the nature of the work that you're doing, the world really needs a model. The world really needs a system for reaching the last mile, and the work that you've been doing all of these years is toward that. And it's like your plan, this plan, kind of crystallized all of that. We actually have a plan for doing that. We actually have a plan for offering the global health community a way forward. We have the tools. That's, I love that part. I don't know how to express that, but I think the times are for working and producing global good that we can all use to advance. And so I really love that this plan is just doing that. I love the focus that you have through your 5 pillars, through your bold objectives of how many people you want to use and how you want to triple the number of community health workers. I love the evolutive nature of your plan. You are not throwing away everything that you did in the last 10 years. You are recognizing that we've built on something. So the way to go is to build on the good things that we have accomplished. I think that is great. And I think it's a sign of great leadership. And it's also a sign of really confidence. You know, you're not going to be wavered by just and that's very common in our field. People tend to just kind of go for the next shining objects and so forth. So I really love that. There are a lot of things that I personally embraced in my way of working and in my leadership journey. For example, there are some principles that I'm always looking for. And I see that you guys have done that. I mean, this idea of lifting up, going on top of the balcony, sitting on the balcony rather being on the dance floor. You did that through this process of this thing. You really took the time to say, let's pull up. I mean, as Liz, I think, used the term lift up, and sitting out there, sitting on the balcony, looking at what you've done, so forth. So I really like that. I like the fact that you've answered Eddie's question very well about the unique value proposition. It's very, very clear. It's what you bring in, some stuff that really other organizations are not doing. What else? There's a lot to like in this plan. You know, and I like the outcome that you guys are working through. You're working toward. You know, you want to increase the numbers. You want to work with more African government. What are the boldest? What is the most? What is your second question? It was about.
What's the most provocative or contentious idea you see in the plan?
I see two. I see two. One is, you know, this task of I'm going to work with government. It really takes courage, boldness to say, I know this is such a difficult thing, and I know this is going to be a journey, but I know this is the right thing to do. So I'm going to commit to doing this. You know, it is very provocative. It's not, because people that are able to raise resources and so forth could choose a different path, could go maybe a faster path, or just much easier. You have not done that. But I think the other piece that, in my sense, is a big challenge that you're putting out there for yourself, and which speaks a lot for the organization, is your commitment to learning, and your commitment to say, you know, we're going to do this, but we are committed to actually learning in the process. Now, it's bold because, you know, we're all challenged by time. We have such short time to do what we need to do, and we are challenged by resources. So if you're committed to something like, I'm going to remain humble and I'm going to be a learning organization, I think it's a great thing. It's a challenge you're setting for yourself. And I think, and I just like the commitment, and I like the idea of starting that way. So it's a great, great principle. And I think for us to succeed in this next generation of development, we all have to adapt to that type of attitude. So that is another thing that I also see as very, very strong and very provocative. Let me stop there because I have a lot to say, but I'll just stop there.
That's great, Pop. And I recall that when I was at IntraHealth, you were talking about some of these principles. I can't remember how, that must have been 8 years ago. You were saying we need to be working through governments. That is a sustainable way. That is the future of development. That's how INGO should be evolving. Yeah. And I think, you know, reflecting on what you just said, what's so exciting is like we're doing it at Living Goods. A lot of organizations are not there yet, right? But we're there, and it's, yeah, I'm excited about that piece.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for your reflections. And I'll turn my next question back to Chuck. As we think about success, and we you know, are so results driven here at Living Goods, when we think about the success of this plan, I think Liz highlighted, you know, some of the metrics that we'll be using. Can you paint a picture for us in terms of success of this strategic plan? What does it look like in practice with governments, with the community that we serve, and with our own staff? There you go.
Great question. And Pop, thank you for that beautiful articulation. I'm so delighted to have Pop on our board. His experience in this space is unequaled. And particularly as we start to build up our presence in West Africa, where he's sitting right now, and where his knowledge and expertise is so deep. You know, to draw Pop's point, and I think what Liz articulated, the first and foremost, I think, expression of our success is going to be clear, independent evidence that government-led partnerships that we're in are delivering meaningful impacts. And again, I'm a strong believer that we need outside evidence to show that. That outside evidence, our first RCT, was a huge propellant of our influence and our scale and our financing. And I think we need that that same kind of evidence to prove out what we're trying to do in this strategic plan. And that's specifically, as Liz pointed out, on child survival and in family planning. You know, and I'll headline again those targets that Liz mentioned. You know, for me, I think at least a 15% drop in child mortality and at least a 30% improvement in access to modern family planning. A second one, a challenging one, again, to go back to one of the pillars here, is around digital. This is a challenging, fast-growing space. We really are 3 or 4 steps ahead of a lot of other people here. And so the successful digital partnerships with governments is paramount here. And so that means, I think, building the right kind of capacity at Living Goods to be the effective lead partner to government. Yeah, we're always going to be working with one or more technology partners, as Liz said, but if we don't really, you know, own and drive the digitization process, it'll be hard for us to do all the other pieces of the desk that we need to do. And that's a new kind of challenge. You know, and then, you know, it's really the other challenge, I think, in the places we work now and setting as a demonstration is really showing that this method can serve the needs of every family who needs us. You know, so that improving our ability to reach each family, each household, and each health worker's area. And importantly for me, I think when I think about the future and how digital plays a part here, is that rather than families waiting for a health worker to show up, to me, a vision of the future is when families know that they can quickly access the health worker when they need them, by phone, by text, or by whatever future form of communication we'll be using. When families quickly reach out, because we know that speed is paramount in saving lives and getting the health worker to the right people when they need help. That when every family knows they can pick up a phone or whatever device they have, or walk to their health worker to get the help they need, that'll be a beautiful thing.
Definitely agreed. And you know, being able to use those digital tools to make that happen, there's so much promise there. And it's such a big part of our plan going forward. It's definitely exciting to see how that vision comes to pass over the next 5 years. So my next question is to both of you, but I'll start with you, Pop, and this will be our final question. So as we head into the implementation of this ambitious new plan, what are the 2 things you want staff at Living Goods to hold on to, especially because we've gone through a lot of organizational changes recently? So what are those 2 things you would say, Living Goods staff, hold on to this going forward? Pop. Oh, Pop, I believe, yes. There you go.
I was met. Well, I think the best quality really is this kind of a resilience thing. And you are definitely in a field that requires a lot of patience, but also just a lot of, resilience is a quality that I think we want to keep, we want to have, realizing that things take time, even if we are in an acceleration mode and we have very ambitious plan. I think keeping at it, keeping your eyes on the prize, where we're going, I would say you're onto something spectacular. It's taking our community years and years to find ways to crack the nut and finally have health services that are accessible to all, especially to people living in the last mile. And you belong to an organization that have had the vision of coming up with a process for doing that. And you really, if I were in your place, I would be not just very proud of the work that we're doing, but I think I will be equipped with the determination that I could change things, that I could make a change. And so I'll keep at it. So I would say, keeping at it, it's so easy in our field to kind of throw your hand up and that says, I give up, because there's so many other easier things to do than this line of work. So, I pay respect to those who've embraced working in global health in general, but those who are actually going the extra mile, no pun intended, to really get there, get those people in the last mile, I think I would just keep at it and keep that determination. The other thing I would say, I'm in the business of capacity strengthening. And I think keeping that in mind, that it's each one of us' responsibility to pay attention to that piece of the work. Especially we belong to a continent that has tremendous asset in human resources. But that also, so it's actually a great thing to dedicate your time to building someone else's capacity and looking at how your capacity is being built and looking at what role you're having in playing that. I like to say we are all talking about how we change things, localization, decolonizing global health and all of that. I may have said that in our conversation about thought leadership, but this whole idea about reflecting yourself and being aware of how you're contributing to the work. So there is more than just delivering the services that you need to do. As a change agent, we constantly need to keep that capacity strengthening, capacity building frame of mind in everything that we do. That just should be part of us. So as you're implementing this plan, I would make a call again that we keep that integral part of what we do. And we should just carry that. And you'll be setting the stage for really, really a new way of accelerating progress. Yeah.
Thank you, Pop. Inspiring words, but you didn't shy away from the fact that this is challenging, especially on a short timeline, as you said, but keep at it. Focus on that capacity building piece so that we are creating that sustainable change. I couldn't agree with you more. Thank you, Pop. All right, Chuck, this will be the closing words on our panel, but same question over to you.
Pop, I don't think I could have said it better. We know our greatest priority, our greatest challenge is enabling and supporting our government partners to do so well what we do well, and translating that into the government context. But I would say, even though this is hard, if I were going to, keep something at the, front and center here, we can't lower our standards. I think there's a temptation because it's hard, you have to lower the bar. I think particularly on impact, on the changes we're trying to produce in people's lives. We can't lower the standards just, because it's harder. In the end, our success is measured by lives saved, by healthy kids, and by women who have control over their reproductive lives. I was reading an article yesterday about ambition here in the state of California, and somebody quoted the governor, who was quoting, I think, one of the ancient philosophers. And the governor said, the biggest risk is not that we aim too high and miss. The risk is we aim too low and reach it. And that's how I think about impact, is that we have to aim high, because we have to think about every one of those families like they're our own. And to succeed at that, I think that the challenge is translating this core competency around performance management into a government context, where governments hire and manage differently than we do. Adopting, importantly, as Liz said, our incentive systems, how we hire, I think we've learned so much about supervision, how we empower and build the capacity of government supervisors to be as rock star as all our supervisors are. And again, to echo a point that Liz has made a few times here, and we can learn from our past on this, it's reacting quickly when we're not meeting our goals, whether that's us or the government partners. There has to be prompt consequences for not achieving the impact that we're here to achieve. We need to take actions quickly, and don't just assume that more time will address a problem. I think about this journey with government, as a shared journey. We can't achieve our vision without government. And I really think that success is a shared journey. It's a shared accountability, is a phrase I keep using with our partners and funders. And I think that means being prepared in some places that it's going to take more effort. It may take more resources. As Liz said, there's a lot of risk and unknown in pulling off this translation. And I'll say, from the point of view of the board as the chair, that we're ready to put in that extra effort and energy to make these partnerships succeed. And just to, if I can sign off here, you guys, our most valuable asset, goes without saying, is all of you. And our strength it comes from the strength of you as individuals, and it comes from the strength of how effectively you work together as a team. And so our job in leadership is making sure that we support you, that you have the resources that you need, the coaching, the leadership. That's our job, is to help you achieve this mission. It's going to be hard. No one's ever really done what we're setting out to do here. But I am supremely confident. And I think the clear articulation of this plan, Liz, that you've led is the tentpole of my confidence in this effort. So I applaud the effort in this plan. I applaud the tremendous effort that's gone into strengthening the organization to bring it to this place. And I can't wait to see what you all do.
Thank you so much, Chuck. I personally feel really inspired, and I'm excited, and just appreciate that support from the board, and knowing that we have your confidence. I use the word supremely confident. That seems like the highest level of confidence. So I just feel, very much supported and excited to begin this journey as a part of the Living Goods team. So I just want to say thank you, Chuck. Thank you so much, Pop, for joining us today. We'll say goodbye to you now, because we know that you're very busy, and are just so appreciative that you carved out this time for us, and really just delivered some amazing insights into the strategic plan, but also some inspiration as we take this work forward. Thank you both so much.
Well, this was a great send-off for me. I'm actually off to Nairobi in a couple of hours.
All right, I mean,
To Kisumu, I must say. Actually, I'm on my way to Kisumu. But
amazing. So you'll get to hopefully, yeah, you'll be seeing some of our team there.
yes,
That's
yes,
great.
yes,
Thank
I
you.
hope so. All right, thank you very much, you guys.
Thank you. Bob.
Great job.
Thank you, Chuck. So I'll just say this concludes our Radio SP programming, but don't leave yet. There's so much more on our agenda, and the party's starting, as I said, so I'll turn it over to my co-host Eddie to take us through the next steps for our agenda.
Thank you, Mandy. Just before you go, Mandy, just one thing I needed us to reflect on, and it really, you know, rang home and got home very clearly when Chuck mentioned, you know, to understand impact by reflecting on your family. Just first reflect on your family and your home, and try to begin building that to 10, to 10,000, to 100,000, to 8 million. Then you begin to understand that everything else we're doing is really trying to get a family like yours impacted. For me, that really dug deep. So just wanted to reflect on that. But thank you very much, and great for that great moderation. Well, you're not going to go for too long. Just wanted to inform everybody that right now, particularly for the Q&A that Mandy had spoken about, we realized that it will require time for us to sort of munch and digest all of this that we've had today, also reflect on the strategy. And so what is going to happen, we're going to have the Q&A, the breakout sessions next week. We're going to have that next week so that we have, after you've digested and also had ample time to sort of read all of this, then, you know, we will be able to ensure that, you know, you get into this. And also remember that Cascade is a critical part of this strategic planning process and dissemination. So that is going to be part of it. And so worry not, even though it's a segment that we're going to have to defer. Now, I am very excited, very excited to get us onto our very, you know, involving quiz. You have been listening. Now it is time for action. We're getting into a quiz that that Mandy is going to help us on. That is going to be a Menti, and this time round we will see individuals that are going to be winners. We want to see some competition in this particular case. We know that yesterday when we had some bits of that, somebody called Howard, I hope he's on the call today, really stood out. You kept on winning those things. You kept on getting those questions answered very quickly. So I want to see what is going to happen today. So I'm going to hand over to you, Mandy, again to take us through. But before we do that, I would like to say this. There are some people that have got unfair advantage, and we wouldn't like them to be part of this quiz. Yes, exactly. So if you're part of Get, forget it. We will not consider you for the quiz or the champions. The champions have been part of a number of processes, so it will be unfair. So just know that you're eliminated, and let's give opportunity to others that haven't been part of this to, you know, get into this exciting quiz. So over to you, Mandy.
Great, thank you so much. All right, I am going to share my screen, hopefully. All right. And I'm gonna, let's see, sorry. All right. Can you, I'll ask my co-host, Eddie, can you see my screen? Should say waiting for players. All right. Okay, so we're going to ask you to participate in this quiz, which I'll turn it back over to Eddie. He's our game show host, but I'll give you the instructions in the meantime. We'll ask you to go to menti.com. It's MENTI.com. And when you get to menti.com, you should see at the top of the screen, there is a number for you to type in. I see some people already starting. I see the icons coming. There's a number for you to type in. Type that number in, press submit. All right, I see people getting on. Amazing. You'll see once you type that in, it'll say to fill in your name. You could use a nickname. They actually have some populated. I believe Beyonce was part of my test yesterday. Enter in your name, your nickname. If you want to be Beyonce, you could be Beyonce. Yeah, okay. I love these icons. These are so cute. Okay, I'm gonna just give a couple more minutes for people to join. Looks like people are joining. So Eddie will go through the questions one by one. You'll also see them on the screen that you're using. You have 25 seconds to answer the question. I'll tell you, the faster you answer it, the more points you get. And after each question, we'll be able to see a leaderboard so we can see which of you is winning after each question. And then at the end, we'll see the overall winner. All right, looks like we have a lot of people joining. Eddie, you feel ready for us to go ahead with the quiz?
Mandy, do you want to take us through the questions as well?
You want me? Okay, yeah, I'm happy to do that. No problem. All right, let's do it, guys. Okay, wait, I see a couple more. I'll give like 20 more seconds. All right, all right. I like, who's the spy here? Very intriguing. I like it. Unicorns, my girls would love that. Okay, I'm ready. All right, I'm gonna launch this quiz. We're gonna start the countdown. All right, here we go. First question, get ready. How many people do we target to reach by 2026? And how many CHWs will we be supporting? All right, you see the 3 choices down here. Please vote. You got 20 seconds. Vote. People voting, or people able to vote?
People vote, vote, vote.
Vote, vote. Ah, there we go, there we go. Oh, wait, time's up. Ah, there we are, okay. Ooh, all right, all right, you're right. 66 of you got it right. 18 million people, 32,000 CHWs, all right. Let's see, we could go to the next one and see who is leading. All right, here we go, here we go. These are the leaders. Ah, all right, AK is in the lead right now, not far behind. We got some people on your tail, AK. So let's go to the next question. All right. All right, in the new strategy, by what percentage do we plan to reduce under 5 mortality? Liz mentioned this. Okay, we got the 3 choices. Please answer. You got 20 seconds.
Yeah.
Let's see if AK stays in the lead.
I can see that. And if they were listening to Chuck before he dropped off, they could get
That's
that.
right. He said it. Told you guys got to take notes. Ooh, okay. Oh, we got a little, ooh, this one was harder. All right, you're those 45 of you that said at least 10 to 15%. That is the target for reducing under 5 mortality in our plan. Let's see, AK, are you still winning?
It will be interesting.
Well,
it will be interesting to know why quite a number thought 25%. You know, where that number came from. You know.
Yeah. I think maybe when we've been talking so much about like bold and ambitious, but 10 to 15% is still very bold and ambitious, right?
Yeah.
All right. Oh, look, we got a new leader, Aggie. Sarah C is on your tail right there. AK still on the board though. All right, let's go to the next one. Okay, ready, everyone. Okay, we plan to significantly improve health outcomes for more than 18 million people in how many countries over the next 5 years? I know that Liz said this, I paid close attention. How many countries will we be working in over the next 5 years? All right, 8 seconds. And Eddie asked a good question, you know, like if please type in the chat if you're answering these, you know, or if you're thinking 25%.
25, it could be some reason,
why, right?
Interesting for us to know. Yeah.
Exactly. All right, 74 people got this one. That's good. That's our highest win rate to date. 74 people, 5 countries. That's right, 5 countries will be.
Howard, there is somebody who is really on your case. Do they believe that, Howard, you're going to use the Google chat, you know, the Google or anything? We'll see how that goes.
Well, here we go. Look, Aggie and Sarah C.
Aggie is
Still leading. All right. Okay. All right. It's getting tight, guys. These last 2, 3, 2. I think there are 2 more. These last ones are harder. Let's see. All right. Next question. Liz talked about this. I know this. How is implementation site defined in the new strategy? An area where living goods go. The 3 options are below. I think this one's harder. We'll see.
I can see.
All right, 7 seconds. Let's see if Aggie stays in the lead. Sarah C right behind her. Ooh, oh, wait, I thought this one was harder, but okay. Maybe
I thought so too.
Maybe that was just me.
People are listening.
Okay.
Yeah, people are
You're right,
really
people are
listening.
listening.
Yeah, somebody said actually that we probably should be more audacious than 15%. 15% is really audacious. Anyway, we will see more of that, you know, as we go. But this is interesting that people can still score. Yes,
Yeah.
Great.
So,
yeah, teams are doing
so
great.
you could,
This one.
yeah, people got this one. Okay, it's just me. I probably wouldn't have gotten this one, but thank you. Liz delivered it very clearly. Implementation site is an area where Living Goods supports government-led community health service delivery towards national scale. All right, let's see who's on our leaderboard here. Oh, Sarah C won that one. Let's see. Okay, we got it.
This is interesting. Aggie has actually disappeared. Silva has been growing now.
All right. Yeah. Okay.
By the way, so you may know speed also matters.
That's right.
does
You get
matter.
extra points.
Yeah, you get extra points for that.
All right. I believe this is the last question.
Yeah,
Right.
we want to see the winner. We want to see after the 5.
Okay, this is how are we defining learning site? You guys all got or most of you got implementation site. So this is learning site. All right. 10 more seconds. I feel like I'm fulfilling my dream of being like a game show host right now. Maybe this is the future for me. Yeah. Oh, this one was harder.
Yeah. So the one we thought was harder was much easier for the team.
Yeah.
And the other was easier, has been more difficult.
So as you can see, learning site, we're defining this in our new strategy as an area where Living Goods directly funds and implements community health programs to test, innovate, and adapt. Let's see, this is our final.
So let us see.
Who's gonna win? Silver got it again. Oh,
Oh, what happened to Silva?
Silver, please.
Silva, can we see your face?
Yeah, please come on. We
Please
want to
come on.
congratulate you.
Please put on your camera, Silva, so we can see and hear you.
Hi everybody. I'm very slightly competitive. Sorry.
Oh,
You're very competitive. Okay.
but I believe it was you yesterday that may have been saying there was like a competition between program delivery and PAC in Kenya. So now it feels it's tied, right? Because I feel like Howard really like knocked it out the park yesterday. So
Yeah.
Where's
Yeah,
Howard
Howard, sorry,
today?
this time you couldn't win. Howard, you were one. Well, thank you so much, people, for participating. Congratulations. This has really been exciting, Mandy. You need to just start preparing to be a game show host. This is really great, and I hope we can learn more. So yeah, we're right at the hour, exactly 1 minute past that hour, on which we are actually now going to do the actual official launch. And so I want to, again, Mandy, you're going to have to help us facilitate this as we get Liz and you know, and Karen lead us into this real actual launch. Finally, the time has come. This is the hour. Mandy.
Great, thank you again, Eddie. It's been so fun. Not only, you know, have we learned a lot, I think we had some fun as well. And so we want to make this part fun too. So it's the time's come. This is what we've been waiting for. It's the launch of our strategic plan for 2022-2026. It's the product of many months of work by this team, by all of you, by the GET, our strategic plan advisory group, Bridgespan, our board, external experts. It's been so much work. I mean, we heard from Pop and from Chuck just how deep this process has been, how intentional. It just captures our years of learning from our work to date. It distills those learning, and it really lays out the structure of where we're going. And I think, you know, as Chuck said, it's us, it's all of us who are going to make this come to life. So I think because we're all a big part of this, we should also be engaged in the launch very directly. But before that, I'll turn it over to Liz for her comments as we embark on this journey. But Liz, before you cut the ribbon on the strategy, can you please turn it back to me so that I could get the team engaged for the big moment? But I know you want to, you know, deliver remarks before we get to that moment. So please, Liz, go ahead.
And there's actually something far more important. There are two options. I can use a pin to burst a balloon, or I can cut a ribbon. Which one do I do? I'm on the balloon. I'm thinking the balloon, but maybe cutting. Everybody.
All right, it's coming in. It's coming
Think
in.
about it. But anyway, while you write in, and then you can tell me, somebody can tell me who said the most. I just want to say I am so excited. I think this has been the best Friday night. You know what? You gave me an excuse to dress up. I can't remember the last time I put so much makeup on. I put a fancy dress. You know what? I've even got shoes on. I know you can't see, but that's a really unheard of for me to have shoes on in the week. So you have enabled me to get dressed up for an occasion. And I wore my love earrings because you know what, guys? You guys, I love you all. You've made this happen. And I think it's a really exciting time for the next stage of our journey. As you can hear, we've got a fantastic board who are behind us and supporting us and engage us and build so much experience from so many different walks of life. A great team doing such important work, and a competitive team, you know? Oh my goodness. So competitive. And I think maybe that's what makes us so great, because you are competitive, whether it's to beat the Mentimeter or to deliver impact. So, you know, it goes hand in hand. So I want to just thank you. I know it's been a tough 18 months or so. I know we don't get together, but wow, Living Goods, we can have fun when we are on the screens, can't we? It's just phenomenal. And, you know, the talent we have, whether you're radio hosts or quiz doers, or just, you know, in your day-to-day roles, I'm just inspired by you all. That's all I'm going to say right now. So thank you so much.
All right, thank you so much, Liz. So the moment has come. I'm gonna, let's see. I gotta put my virtual background. Here we go.
So which one was it?
Fire, right? Yeah. Oh, yeah. Eddie, have you been monitoring? Which one is it?
Yes, the beam. Yeah. The
oh,
beam.
okay. I mean, I'm always kind of scared of balloons bursting, but I'll go with it. I'll go with it. All right. I need your help, everyone. This is, I know we've been having our cameras off the whole time and being on mute, but this is the moment. I'd like you all to come on camera and get ready. You're also going to have to come off of mute as well. I need at least 30 people on camera because we got to take a screenshot of this moment. I need to see some faces, Here we go. Thank you. Ah, so many faces. So good to see everyone.
Hey.
All right. Oh, Ansel. Yeah, good to see you too. Hi. Okay. All right. Please come off of mute. I see all your lovely faces. I need your hands ready. Okay. Hands ready, everyone.
Right. hands are ready.
All right, we're doing a virtual drum roll, okay? Yeah, I don't have drums, but your hands. Ready? Okay, Liz, I'm gonna, everyone drum roll, off mute, we gotta hear it. Drum roll, off mute. All right,
Let's hear
hear it. I'm gonna count it down, Liz. All right, you ready? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Yeah.
No.
All right. So many cool sounds. Thank you all. That was so much fun. And I think you may have seen that after Liz did the popping of the balloon, she held up our printed strategic plan. I know you all received it from Liz in virtual format, but we actually have printed versions as well. And I know our Thomas got one too, VIP, I like it. We'll all have a chance to, dig in deeply, as Liz said, and Eddie said, we'll be cascading this throughout many sessions across the team. So just want to thank you all before I hand it over to Eddie for our final closing. I just want to really thank you all for being here and for engaging. It's been, again, really inspiring, informative, but also you all made it fun as well. So I appreciate it. I'm just really honored and excited to be part of this team and to take this work forward. So I always write this like, go team, I'm excited. So thank you. And thanks to my co-host, Eddie. I'll turn it over to you for closure.
Thank you so much, Mandy. What a day, what a show it has been. So enjoyable, a lot of variety, listening to Chuck after a long time. Oh, Pap, listened and read so much about him and the stuff that he has done. And the rest of the team and how Liz was able to articulate, all of this in a very, very wonderful way. It's really clarified a lot of things in my mind, and I hope also for the rest of you, it has been clarified. We have a recording, and I hope this recording will be shared, and we're going to be having, the cascades as well, as we mentioned. So very exciting times, and congratulations to all of us as Living Goods. Now, unfortunately, all good things come to an end. Our frontline show has really come to an end. It has been great, so nice. So from myself, Eddie, and my co-host Mandy, would like to wish you a super day and the great rest of the weekend. So thank you so much. Bye. There's going to be music playing, so don't necessarily drop off. And from the rest of the crew that has put this together, I would like to thank Fiona, who is our chairperson, who's been supporting and organizing all of this. Emily, we have Jane Hyman, who has been supporting in the coordination and getting all of this done. And to the rest of the team that has been doing this, Karen, you've been great organizing all of that stuff. So thank you so much. Until we meet again, bye from us. Enjoy the rest of the evening. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, Eddie and Mandy.